everyone, welcome back to Izzy Sandpit TV and podcast. I hope you're enjoying the content. Today I want to shout out to my Buy Me a Coffee subscribers and contributors. Claire, Jodie, John and Eve, thank you very much for your support. It's really appreciated. If you want to also contribute to the channel, go to buymeacoffee.com/Izzy Sandpit and you can subscribe there or you can contribute. So thank you very much. Today I've got Marc from the Rock the Foundry Promotions company. He is a local promoter and mainly does the tap and tumbler in Nottingham. We had a good chat about his music collection, some unsigned bands and who he thinks is going to be big in the future. I hope you enjoy the chat. Thank you. Good afternoon everyone. Welcome to Izzy Sandpit TV and podcast. Today, I've got something slightly different for us all. I've got Marc Walsh, who has his own promotion company called Rock the Foundry, and he's a booking agent for the Tap and Tumbler music venue. Marc, welcome to the show, man. How are you?
Hello, thanks for having me.
No worries. Thanks for coming on, pal. How's it going? How's it back in sunny old England?
It's actually turning for the better, I think. I think spring's kind of hitting, so
excellent.
I think we'll all welcome that with the storms that we've had recently and one thing or another, and COVID's relaxed. So I think spring coming and summer coming, we're able to kind of relax and go and do stuff we want to do, really.
No, absolutely, and that'll be a good part for the music industry and for local venues like the one that you look after in your promotions. So you must be pleased about that side of things, that things are coming back to life in the UK as well. So
yeah, I mean, well, as a result of COVID, I'd started the Rock the Foundry thing just as a booking my own band that I was in at the time. It was just I wanted to get my own band gig, so I found that I enjoyed it a lot. So I started setting up shows at like Trillions in Newcastle and just the odd show here and there. And then I did a few all-dayers, and then I kind of created the Rock the Foundry thing. But I had to cancel like 85 shows throughout a year of COVID, and I wasn't really interested at the middle of last year wanting to do it again. But it was my wife that kind of pushed me and convinced me to, you enjoy it, you're pretty good at it. So it started up again last October off Tap and Tumbler approached me through word of mouth and stuff. So I kind of took that on. So I book every Saturday there and quite a few Fridays as well. So yeah, I mean, the shows there, they're going great. It's all underground, metal, rock. Throw in the odd punk line up here and there. But it's going great guns there. They're really well received. The busy nights. So
awesome. And what's I've had a little look on the internet and there's not too many photos of the Tap and Tumbler. What sort of capacity is it? What's it like? What sort of venue? Is it a little pub or,
Yeah, it's a pub. It's got a great reputation as a rock and metal pub, if you like. Right. Nottingham's quite vibrant anyway. It's not far from the City Hall, so or Rock City, should I say? It's not far from there, so it kind of it's busy on a regular basis. I think it's regular punters and stuff like that because the shows there are free entry. So there's a nice stage area at the back of the room. There's a nice kind of viewing platform for a good few hundred people, I would say.
Oh, cool.
And then it kind of goes round in a U, where you can't see the music. So there's probably a good 100 to 150 viewing, I'd say.
Oh, that's awesome. So it's a proper little venue, really. I mean, I think if you were to pack out 150 people in a gig, if you're an unsigned metal band, that's a pretty sick level of punters, and that's a good vibe of a good group of people, really. So no, that's pretty cool.
Well, it's a 3-hour drive from me, and I've been down a few times, and I honestly wish I lived in Nottingham just so I could be there more often, really. And it's got such a great reputation, and the staff there are brilliant, the management are brilliant. So all the bands that play there get well looked after, and they can't speak any more highly of the place, really, in every
good.
way you can think of, really. So it's perfect. It's just going great.
No, do you know, when I played in my bands, and I always mention the Swan with Two Necks in Macclesfield, which is up towards sort of Manchester way, and Wendy there, the owner of that venue, she always looked after everyone. She's a really good sort of venue owner. So that's good. So I'm glad that they've got a good reputation, and that sounds so as well. My partner's from Mansfield. She so Nottingham Rock City is. I've been once before. It's a great venue. It's a proper rock and roll venue. So it's good that they're Tap and Tumbler.
Few bands there.
Yeah,
I've seen a few bands there over the years. Yeah.
You seen?
I saw Skindred there not long ago.
All right, okay.
I've seen Thunder there a couple of times. I've seen quite a number of bands. I think I've seen the Wild Arts there as well at one point.
Yeah, Chut's Par's my favourite Wild Arts album. That's a great album.
Is it really?
Yeah, I don't know why, but I just love that album. I think it's because it's the first Wild Arts album I discovered. So I always think the first album you find I don't know,
it does stick with you, doesn't it? It does kind of. I get that a lot with other bands, but I think Fishing for Luckies is probably my kind of favourite Wild Arts album.
Yeah.
Then Earth versus the Wild Arts, I think.
No, Earth versus the Wild Arts is a really good album. I'd probably say that those two are my top two, actually. Yeah, no, fair enough. So in terms of the bands and booking them for different, for different venues and stuff, how do you go about finding those bands? Do you just they contact you, or do you ever go and have a look around, Marc, for the latest talent and the hottest bands type thing?
There's no real formula to it. I think it's a good balance of both, really. I'm always eager to look for new bands. So I'm pretty well connected with other promoters who put on other events. So I get stuff cropping up on Facebook all the time. Right. And I'll get like recommendations from people, or if I see someone post something about a band, I'll check them out. Because the main thing that I like to offer or give bands who are relatively unheard of is an opportunity, really. Yeah. And bands who won't have played Nottingham before, who may be from down south or up in Scotland or whatever, I'll just like to throw people opportunities to be able to play out of their own town or city or whatever. So I do a lot of searching, I do a lot of nosing. I get a lot of bands approaching me, which is great. I have a registration form for the promotion, just so I can keep track of bands that approach me, because it all gets lost. So they fill out a really basic registration form. So I have like a database of bands basically, which I've got like over 500 now. So whenever I'm looking for a specific band from a certain genre for a lineup, I'll have a quick search through that. I'll put up a post on Facebook, which will get some attention as well. So I've kind of just made it up as I've gone along, really. There's no real formula to it.
It sounds a bit like my YouTube channel. Just making it. No, that's good. No. So what's the name of your YouTube? So what's the name of your Facebook page? Any other, just for the listeners and the followers of my channel?
Just Rock the Foundry. It's on Facebook and it's on Instagram.
Yeah, cool. So there you go, guys. So anyone watching or listening on podcast, if you're close to, there is a few people on that follow me that are around around the Nottingham area. So yeah, if you buy the Tap and Tumbler and you want to follow some of Marc's bands, then that he's promoting, check them out, guys. So the other thing I was going to ask you is there any bands that you've recently had over? You said let me start again. You've booked 140 gigs over the past however long you've had your business for.
By the end of this year, it'll be starting up again in October last year. By the end of this year, we'll be around 140.
Right, okay.
Prior to COVID, it was the first year was around 85 shows, and then I had to cancel the same amount for the following year when COVID struck.
So is there any bands in that group that you think could be really massive? And anyone that you could pick out? Maybe a handful of names.
Well, certainly from the bands that I've seen over the years, who are hard-working bands, who to a certain degree will gig anywhere because they just want to do it for the love of doing it. There are a handful of bands that have blown me away live on the underground circuit. Chrysler is the main one.
Yeah.
I booked Chrysler a good few years ago, an all-dayer that they headlined, and they just absolutely blew me away. They're an incredible band.
What blew them? What blew you away about them? What was it about them that made you think, wow, these guys are good? Presence, music, or the whole package?
The delivery of the performance, really, and the musicality that they delivered. Because I'd not listened to them before, and they just got the crowd moving. They were engaging. They were heavy as hell, and they're nice guys.
Yeah,
which is a perfect recipe, really. So they've played Bloodstock, and I've got them. I've just announced today, actually. I've got them booked back at the Tap and Tumbler in September this year, which is kind of one of my. I'm really happy to have these guys playing a show at the Tap and Tumbler. Awesome. So I love them. I really respect them. Other bands, Dog Tired is another one from Bonnie, Scotland. Again, wonderful set of blokes. I've booked them a few times. Absolutely brilliant. Same kind of thing with Chrysler, really. Yeah. Just nice blokes, deliver riff crunching music, heavy, the classic heavy metal stuff, and great live. Yeah. I can't speak of those guys highly enough. Luna's Call is another one, quite different in terms of music, more kind of Opeth, your progressive death metal stuff.
Right, okay.
Which I've got that up here. This is their last album that they released on vinyl, Void. So I discovered that album, and I just thought it was incredible. It was just a brilliant album. And I've booked those guys a few times. Who else we got? Who else have we got? I can't think of anyone else that sticks out. I've got. Go on, sorry.
No, I was going to say, what about the Sylvain lads? Because Aaron sort of dropped the message in for me and you to sort of have a chat. I've listened to them. They've obviously only released 2 songs, but they're pretty good. I like them.
Well, I've been in touch with them for a while. It's been a bit hit and miss in terms of trying to get them booked. I had a venue up in Middlesbrough, which kind of live music got pulled quite abruptly. Yeah. Which meant a cancellation of a lot of shows, actually. Which unfortunately kind of let quite a lot of bands down. I think Sylvain were part of that. They have played the Tap and Tumbler. However, the vocalist tested positive for COVID, I think. Right. Anyway, he couldn't play, so they had to do an instrumental headline set, which nevertheless went down fantastically, apparently. Feedback from the venue and stuff. So, but I'm wanting to get them back there with a full lineup for obvious reasons, and hopefully I'm fully booked at the Tap and Tumbler for the rest of this year. So, okay, kind of looking at 2023 now. I've booked a couple of quite big shows in terms of underground metal rock music in early 2023. So
awesome. Do you know what, Marc? That's brilliant. That's great to see that a live music venue for unsigned artists or underground artists, because I'm sure some of them have probably got some record deals in there, but that's brilliant that you've got a venue that's supporting live music and is selling out, is filling up, and these guys get experience. You're pulling out artists from all over the country. Have you had any international artists? Just thinking about that. Have you had any from Italy, Germany, that kind of neck of the woods?
Well, I've got this year I announced I've booked a band from Australia. They're kind of a psychedelic stoner band, so their management sent me an email. Basically, they're playing some festival in Europe, so I think they just want to pack out their trip over here. So they asked me to sort one date out for them, which I did at the Tap. Yeah. Kind of made it a bit of a stoner rock lineup. They're called Khan, Khan. And I managed to sort them another show out for a following night. So I kind of help them out with a bit of cash in the pocket, really, while they're over here. I've got a 5-day tour from an American stoner band that's going to be announced imminently, probably in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Prior to COVID, I booked it was probably my first, actually. It was like a 12-13 day tour for a Danish metal band called Statement. And that was an eye-opener, because I've kind of just winged it, really, and I really enjoy doing what I can to support the underground scene and bands and giving people an opportunity. Yeah. And I've kind of relied a lot on the people that I've networked with and who are experienced, and kind of relying on their suggestions and their knowledge around stuff, really. So
no, absolutely. No, man, that sounds good. No, it sounds like you got the right idea. You will be, when this releases, you'll be episode 11 in total. So Sylvain and Next, they're releasing live tomorrow. And, up to now, I've had Benji Webb from Skindred on. I've had Richard Shaw from Cradle of Filth. I've had Jeff Holroyd on. Jeff Holroyd on from Feeder and Big Linda. So, and I've had local guys on, like the Sylvain lads. I've had Bug Eye on, like the disc. So I've had a whole range, and got yourself on today, which is brilliant, So I understand the direction that you're going. That you try and get the big guys in, you try and get the guys who just need an opportunity. So people just wanting to come on and the channel is really helpful. And same with yourself, just booking people to gigs and watching them perform, and some of them blowing you away. It must give you a massive satisfaction, to do that. So, because let's be honest, promoters, you guys, a lot of people think, they just want to make money. That is, and people think that people that run YouTube channels just want to make money, and people have sort of talked to me that I'm like a journalist, and I'm not. I'm just a guy that likes music. I'm just the guy that likes music, and I want to help promote music in my own way. So sometimes we get labelled as maybe the bad guys in this, but we're not. We just love music.
Well, I've kind of come across a few unsavoury characters promotion-wise who have kind of been called out over the past couple of years, and they haven't ended up with the greatest of reputation. So, I believe I'm an honest person. I believe in communication. Any band that you could ever speak to or venue would tell you that I communicate. That's my thing. I can't be at all the shows, so the information of everyone being on the same page is paramount. We need to know where we all stand, who's doing what, who's bringing what gear, who are you going to go to get paid, that kind of thing, how much you're getting paid. And I think all that kind of stuff's really, really important. Rather than just booking them and then you don't speak to them for months on end. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
It's I think that's essential, is communication and being thorough and honest.
Yeah, I think we've all experienced that as well over the years. I've played some great venues where they've booked us, booked my band and paid us, and they've told us everything. I've been to a venue that doesn't exist in Liverpool anymore. It's finished. And we turned up and, we were booked on with another promoter, and we went on first when we were supposed to go on. We went on last when we were supposed to go on second last. And it was just, we ended up having a disagreement with one of the other bands because we played for longer than them, and it was like, you know, it's just, so it's great that you're promoting that there, Marc. So no, well done, mate, and it's good that you've got that attitude. So just touching on you as a musician, you used to be a drummer in Dead River Kings. You toured with Massive Wagons, who again come on the channel a few weeks ago. It's a small world. So tell me a little bit about that band, and you know, I believe you sort of fell out of love with the drumming. So, you know, just give us a little snippet on that, mate, just so we understand you as a musician.
Yeah, well, I've played drums for about 14 years on and off. I'm self-taught, so I've never had any lessons. I don't know theory or anything like that. I've always kind of felt what I'm playing really, and listen to what's going on, and kind of connecting that way. So I've kind of been in bands on and off over the years. Dead River Kings was something that I've not been in the Northeast for really that long. I'd had a bit of a gap of playing and stuff, so I kind of started to seek out people who maybe want to be in a band, and then Dead River Kings was kind of created. We released an EP, and there were plans for writing an album, but I've always kind of struggled with self-belief and self-confidence when it comes to playing. I don't know why that is. It's kind of always been there. And that's regardless of what, you know, other people might tell me of, you know, how I play and how satisfied they might be. It's really kind of about me and my mentality, really. So I got to a place where I felt like I needed to take a step back from playing, full stop. I had a busy life away from that as well. I had a new job that I had to settle into, and I've got a new baby who's here, who's an absolute nightmare. So yeah, there were a lot of stuff going on. So it just kind of felt right just to have a bit of a breather. The guys naturally wanted to continue writing the album, so they got a new drummer, and absolutely no like bad blood difficulties or anything like that. It's so yeah, I mean, I'll get back playing sometime soon. I don't know when, but I want to try and get a kind of a stoner doom band set up. I think I think that's what I want to do next. I really kind of feel that music when I love metal. I absolutely love metal, but in terms of playing and playing grooves, and I think the stoner doom stuff's kind of, I think that fits me right and my style really. So I'll be looking to start something like that up, hopefully.
Yeah. Just going back to me laughing, by the way, I was only laughing because most people go, "Oh, my children are amazing," and then you just went, "It was an absolute nightmare." So it just tickled me.
Oh, I love him. He's brilliant. He's an amazing character. A lot of people who might see this will know who he is. He's kind of a regular face on my Facebook account when he's some of the stuff he does is his nickname's Dweeb. I mean, he's called Ruben, but his nickname's Dweeb. But he's just very, there's nothing petite about him. He's just like full on, like wanting to smash stuff up and climb on everything and try to beat his brothers up and whatnot. Yeah, he's a handful, but
no, fair enough. No, awesome, mate. So thank you very much about that little bit of. So hopefully we'll see you back behind the kit soon in a band, maybe. And talking about sort of influences, if for those that listen on podcast, Marc is sat behind the most immense vinyl collection, and I believe there's around 600 vinyls in there. Tell me about that vinyl collection, because that is impressive, mate. It's impressive.
Well, I only started collecting 2 years ago. So my wife bought me a record player for my birthday, and my first record, I think it was a Quo record, actually. I think it was actual self-titled Status Quo record. It's got Just Take Me on it and stuff like that. I bought it like for £6 from some charity shop or something like that. And then, because I'm quite an obsessive compulsive person, I just can't stop buying vinyl. But my wife's, I mean, she's not as bad as me, but she likes to do it as well.
Yeah.
So, but she's treated me for birthdays, Christmas, even my sobriety celebration in November. She's just like pulled these vinyls out of the bag. That's just like, where the hell have you got this from? It's like,
that's amazing.
I don't even ask her sometimes how much she's paid for them. So she's pulled out some absolute blinders. I mean, the liquid tension ones are the main ones. They're like original presses. They're like 400, 500 quid a piece.
Wow. What's the most expensive one that you've got then there, Marc? Can you show me?
I would say this one.
Yeah.
I think the Liquid Tension first album.
Right. Okay.
So I'm a fanatical Mike Portnoy fan. So
yes, you said that before in
I basically followed every project that he's ever done. So I've got a mission to own every vinyl album that he plays on. And I think I've got 3 left to get out of about 65.
Right. What are you missing in case there's any listeners may be able to help you?
I've got there's Flying Colours live in Europe. There's the Winery Dogs Dog Years.
Yeah.
And then there is the Grand Experiment, the Neil Morse Band. They're the 3 that I'm missing, which range from 50 to 100 quid, something like that each. But the Liquid Tension ones, I never ever thought I would own them.
No.
And then my wife contacted someone that I know on Facebook, Michael Smith. He might watch this. And they did a sneaky deal because he knew how much I loved the band and loved Mike Portnoy and stuff. So they did a sneaky deal. And then I came home from work one day and there were a parcel. She said, open it. She's filming it. And I'm like, as soon as I saw the cover, I just started crying.
Oh, mate, that's amazing.
I never ever thought I would own them. They're just so they're like, out of all the vinyl that I've got, them 2 are the prized ones, really. There's a lot of expensive ones in there, but
I'm more interested in the one that's second to the left. So my left, the Iron Maiden one. I love Maiden. Maiden are one of my favourite bands. You know.
Well, the reason that Seventh Son is there is that my dad introduced me to Maiden when I was about maybe 5-6 years old, and not long after Live After Death came out. So I became a fanatical Little Maiden fan. I knew all the lyrics and I just loved it. Yeah, I got picked on at school because I liked heavy metal, and
it's cool.
Then in 1988 on the Seventh Son tour, my dad took me to see Maiden.
Right.
And I'd never been to a gig before. I was 10 years old. He took me to the Birmingham NEC, and it's actually the Maiden England gig that you can get now,
right.
Which I've got on double vinyl as well. So, and I will never ever forget that experience. I mean, it was just phenomenal. Like the whole thing, the arena, the show that they put on, and I just love Maiden from that point. So Seventh Son, although musically, I wouldn't say it was the best Maiden album. I think there are better ones.
Yeah.
I think Somewhere in Time and Power Slave are probably better, but
Power Slave's amazing. Yeah.
As an experience of what defined me really as a young lad, musically, yes. Seventh Son takes it above all really. UFO. I'm a big Schenker fan. I love Michael Schenker. I've grown up with Schenker, and my dad works for him on tour. And I just think that's the greatest live album that's ever been released, Strangers. I just think I think he was 18, Schenker, on that. Just what's all that about? You know, to play a solo like Rock Bottom, it's an improvised solo like that. I've seen him many times. I've lost count of how many times I've seen Schenker, and I just never get bored of watching him. No. He's phenomenal.
I think the first gig I went to, and people laugh at me for this one as well. The first gig I went to was the Darkness at the tell a lie. The first arena gig I went to was the Darkness when he come out on the Tiger. I was like,
Oh, really?
yeah, that was at the MEN, and it was just amazing. And it just sticks with me. I've been to see them. I've been to like the Manchester Academy and the little venues, but I'd never been to the arenas. And something about arenas, I know that some people say you lose that connection with the fans because they're so far away. But I was stood there just watching Justin Hawkins playing a solo on a Tiger, and I was thinking, that's so rock and roll. That's amazing.
Yeah.
So,
well, I saw the Darkness. I've seen them twice. And I saw them support Def Leppard at the Manchester Apollo before they were even known. And for some reason, I went with my dad and he were upstairs in the circle and I were down in the stalls. So I'm watching this
I love the Apollo
support band, The Darkness, and you've got this guy with an all-in-one bloody spandex thing on doing Dave Lee Roth moves and all this stuff and get your hands off my woman motherfucker and all this stuff. And I'm like, I remember texting my dad upstairs saying, these guys are going to be massive. We're going to know about these guys. And then the year later, off the back of the debut album, I saw them at the Apollo again, headlining, and I were a bit disappointed. Oh. It almost felt like they kind of blew up too quickly. They had like 4 band support in them. I think the Darkness played like 45 minutes or something like that, which was more or less the album. But yeah, I think they're at a point now where they're just kind of cemented in rock history, aren't they? So they kind of demand that level of respect, really, and they're obviously just on the tour. I mean, the Wagons pulled out the support, didn't they, for the tour recently, which British Lion pulled out of. So
yeah, no, that was good. Yeah, no, they and Massive Wagons got a lot of good feedback from that. A lot of Darkness fans were happy with the Wagons. So, no, they're good. So, what's your memories of touring with of playing with Massive Wagons? You know,
I'm kind of I speak to Baz quite a lot.
Yeah, he's a lovely guy.
He's sound. Yeah, I won't badmouth him on here. I'll just. I went to a Planet Rock gig called Winter's End down south, and I don't know why I went really. I think they were like a cheap ticket going, something like that. So I turns up, and a lot of the bands were a bit throwaway. Nothing really kind of grabbed me until I saw 2 bands that weekend that absolutely like just got my attention.
Yeah,
Rave and I were one.
Rave and I,
a brilliant 3-piece. They seem a bit inactive at the minute, which is disappointing, but they were just great. I love the music. Aaron on bass was all over the place. Ollie, guitar and vocals, they were just jumping off drum riser and stuff. I just thought they were brilliant.
Yeah.
And then there were the Wagons. And I'd never even heard of the Wagons before. I'm stood there at the barrier and Baz comes out and I thought there's just something about these guys. There's something about the music. There's something about their stage presence. And then I just went to see them loads all over the place. But at the Winter's End, I spoke to Baz later on in the day or something like that. I just could not speak to him because of the impact that they had on me.
Yeah.
I've lost count of how many times I've seen them now. My wife loves them. Our kids love them. And I think they're some of the most down-to-earth, humble blokes you ever wish to meet.
Yeah.
And to get where they are now, to be elevated to where they are now through the years of absolute graft and hard work, it's just like they deserve it. They deserve everything that's coming their way. The earache record deal was a game changer, and they just keep getting better and better. They just keep maturing. Their albums keep getting better. And really by definition of my taste in music,
Yeah.
I shouldn't really like the Wagons, really.
No, a bit too.
But I like my heavy music. A lot of heavy music. But there's just the package of the guys themselves, the music, their work ethic. It just fits and it just clicks for me, and I just love them. I just think they're great.
Yeah.
And I speak to bars occasionally online and stuff, and whenever we can get to go and see them, we like rock up and make sure we show our faces at a Wagons gig. Really,
that's awesome. I think, aren't they playing Stoke-on-Trent next month? The Sugar Mill. Is it this month or next?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think they're playing the Sugar Mill, which isn't too far from Nottingham. You know, it's an hour away, an hour and a half away. So maybe that's something you could look at. So in terms of your personal musical influence, then, Marc, you said you like a lot of metal. Name me some of your favourite bands, some of your big influences that if you've grown up. You mentioned Maiden. You mentioned Mike Portnoy and Dream Theater. Any other big influences on your music?
Yeah, I mean, the defining ones is like Maiden set me on that path, really.
Yeah.
And then when I was about 16, I think, my dad gave me a CD, a Dream Theater CD. He didn't like it, and it was the Awake album.
Yeah.
And other than Rush or Yes, like my dad playing that stuff, I'd never really heard prog.
No.
And when I heard that 6 o'clock drum intro by Portnoy, it was just like I was absolutely sold from the first hit of a drum. I just thought, what is this? You know, like 12, 15-minute tracks. It's just like I just thought it were amazing. And I just fell into prog metal. I loved everything about prog metal and odd time signatures and that. I couldn't play them, but I just loved them. And I could like memorize Portnoy's parts and stuff like that without being skillful enough to play them.
Yeah.
So yeah, Dream Theater were a big game changer for me when I was like almost like in my late teens, really. And recently, I would say currently my kind of biggest metal bands are Avatar. I saw them live a few years ago. Phenomenal live band.
Yeah.
Extremely technical players. And I just think they deliver something a little bit different. That's like, that's not your straight up like metal band. They're just a little bit different. And that I don't even include the makeup and the costumes and all that. I just mean musically, they're just a little bit different. Gajira.
Oh right, okay, yeah.
Mario Duplantier is probably my favourite modern drummer.
Yeah.
I just think the stuff he does behind the kit is just mind-boggling. The rhythms that he comes up with and stuff is just insane. I saw them a few years ago in Birmingham. That's probably one of the liveliest gigs I've ever seen. The whole stalls, it was sold out, and the whole stalls just constantly moved around. Wow. It never stayed still. It were a brilliant gig. Lamb of God, I'm fond of Lamb of God. Even since Chris Adler left, I haven't really noticed a massive change. I think Cruz is phenomenal.
He's on, even though they've lost one of their key members.
Yeah. I think he's filled the slot perfectly, Cruz, to be honest. Mastodon, I am a massive Mastodon fan.
Yeah.
I have all their studio albums on vinyl. Slipknot's an obvious one.
Yeah, I love I went to see Slipknot on my own in Newcastle years ago. 3 of my friends bailed because they didn't want to go all the way to Newcastle. They managed to get tickets for Manchester. And I was like, fuck it, I'm going to Slipknot on my own. And I went to Newcastle and I went on my own and I was like, this is amazing. So
yeah, I didn't always like that kind of metal, really. I didn't like at one time I was like, I don't really like the shouty, screamy vocals. What's all that about? But for some reason, something changed, and I love it. I love Opeth. I think Opeth have got a great mix of progressive music with death metal elements, and I think their journey, like they did Heritage, which was completely like a U-turn on what they would normally do.
Yeah.
And I think that for a band like that to do something like that, they got a lot of stick for it, but I just think it's incredible.
It takes balls
to
change your sound.
Of course it does, yeah. To kind of go away from something that has worked, that's a formula that you know delivers and works, to do something completely off track, and for it to still work and still be great, and you can't not respect that. No. There's quite a few. There's a band called Killer Be Killed, which is essentially a supergroup. Right. It's got Troy Sanders in. It's got Max Calavera in there. I can't remember the name of the other two. There's one from Dillinger Escape Plan.
Okay.
And the original drummer was from the Mars Volta, I think.
Oh, okay.
And one of the albums is up there, framed. That's the second album. Okay. Their debut album is probably one of my favourite debut albums of all time. It's just, I mean, they've hardly ever gigged before. I think they played like a handful of gigs in Australia or something like that. And the fans kind of never thought the second album was ever going to arrive. But we're kind of still itching for there to be some sort of tour, really.
You do get a bit like that with some bands where they just don't seem to release, or they don't seem to gig, and you're like, come on. This is again completely different to your type of to Story of the Year. One of my favorite, like rock sort of, I know those sort of emo-y rock metal rock bands, and the last album Wolves was really good, absolutely brilliant album, probably my favorite album that they've released in the past sort of 5 or 6 years. They just didn't tour it. It's like, and it was before COVID, and it's like, come on, go and tour. They just didn't do anything with it, and it's like, I've not seen you in like 7 years because your last albums I didn't love them, so I didn't go. I was like, oh, come on, and then they didn't tour it, and it was like, it's annoying. So yeah, I feel you on that one. I feel it.
I'm quite into a few metal bands that have got female vocalists. Spirit Box. I'd seen quite a bit of hype about Spirit Box, and I tend to stay away from hype trains. I don't get drawn to that. I kind of catch on later on.
Yeah.
I won't get drawn to all this like blow up of something. So I kind of listened to Spirit Box and took notice when the debut album came out, and I just thought this is great. This is brilliant. Ginger are another band, female vocalists. Venom Prison, another one. Employed to Serve, another one. And for me, them 4 bands of this era with female vocalists like that, they're like the next big 4 for me.
Yeah.
Like they should tour. All 4 of them should tour together. Because they're just like the vocal delivery of those ladies is just second to none. Like to change their voice like they do, to growl and be aggressive and then just sing this clean harmony.
It takes some technique as well, doesn't it?
It is. It is.
I can't growl when I sing. I can't. It's very. And then if I try and sing off the back of it, my voice is just. I've got a softer voice anyway, so it's different. But no, that's.
Well, I can't sing, so.
I can sing better than I can play guitar. That's what I can do. But so no, that's a really good deep dive into your musical influences there, Marc. And just sticking on one more. Do you like Allegion or Allegion? They're like a tech metal band that a couple of my friends like, and they're very proggy.
I've come across them before, actually. When I'm doing the old Spotify searches for new music and all that kind of stuff, and I mean they don't stick out in terms of listening to them, but the name has cropped up when I've been, because there's so much of any one genre out there. I think it's I think it's kind of like, for example, when I was growing up, it was like the classic rock bands. So I think you can kind of get lost in everything sounds the same. And I think Massive Wagons are a good example of, they had the classic rock label, if you like, or the new wave of classic rock.
Yeah.
But they're kind of a bit different from that. They're not your generic classic rock band. I mean, they're writing a song about curry, for crying out loud. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's just like they throw curveballs in there, and I love that about them. So
yeah.
So I think it kind of, I can listen to loads and loads and loads of stuff, but it takes something a bit different to grab my attention, I think.
Yeah. That's why I like Hailstorm, because the whole pirate rock thing is just, or pirate metal things, hilarious. You know, I love Hailstorm. I just love them. You know, but I
saw them years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was off the first album, the tour of the first album. I think it was in Leeds Cockpit. It was.
Right. Wow.
And for that, huh?
The Cockpit's still there.
I don't think it is. You know, I don't think it exists anymore.
I've not seen it around. It's like, it reminds me of the Liverpool Barfly. I love the Barfly. It's like a mini auditorium, which is a great venue.
Yeah.
Such a lots of good venues. So just touching on that about music and how much music there is out there. Do you think we ever will go back to sort of Spotify disappearing and just going back to physical copies? Because vinyl's going off the rails at the moment. You can't get enough of vinyl. People are really bolstering their vinyl collection, aren't they? Do you think we'll?
Well, I think there's a need for streaming.
Yeah.
But it's, you know, it's obviously well documented that bands and artists are not paid, or paid anywhere near enough, and they're essentially exploited. Now, that's not right. Morally, it's not right. So I think something needs to be done or discovered in terms of streaming where bands are paid. You know, there's not streaming services available that rip bands off. And I think I only use Spotify for new releases. So in my kind of library, I check new releases every Friday. So any ones that catch my attention through the first couple of tracks, I stick it in the library so I don't forget about it.
Yeah.
And I endeavour to buy the vinyl if it's available. So that's what I try and do.
That's good. Try and support.
But I mean, Spotify and streaming, there's a use for it. Of course there is. But I think over the years, it certainly needs to change, and it needs to benefit bands and artists more than it does.
We were talking about this last night when I went out with some friends of mine, and we were saying that we need to address the balance. So even if I was saying that, you know, there's a big shout for it to be, I know there was the move, get your words out, Daniel, come on. There was a petition to sort of get a penny a stream. So for me, from a finance perspective, if you've got thousands and thousands of artists now, if you're paying a penny a stream, you probably wouldn't be able to, but it needs to be incremental. So you pay the first 100,000 at a penny, the next at maybe 0.0, 0.9 of a penny, an increment, something like that, where at least, you know, if you're in the upper limits of, you're making millions and millions of streams, and you're not being paid fairly for it, it just doesn't seem right to me. Because as well, you put so much effort into a record, whether it be an EP or an album, or you put so much effort into these things, and then to not be paid for it, it just seems a little bit unfair to me. So there's got to be, to address the balance somehow.
Well, I also kind of see it from a relatively unheard of band perspective as well, from Dead River Kings, where they released the EP, put it on Spotify. There wasn't really any debate whether that was not going to happen. You know, it was. Yeah. So I kind of see it from that view, where it's an opportunity for your music to be exposed, really. But I think there needs to be a fine balance, really, because quite obviously, there are a lot of artists out there who have been really outspoken about it, and it needs to change. You know, there might be better platforms out there for streaming. I don't know.
No.
I personally just like use Spotify now and again.
Yeah, I've got Spotify, and it's weird because I'm in the UAE now and I'm not back in England. Access to live music that I like is not as prevalent out here. You know, we just don't. It's just not in the cultural nature of what they do. So I have to rely on Spotify for my new music, and I have to sort of follow it through that way. So, and getting music out here, you know, it's I have to send it back to the UK and then hope that I can pick it up when I come back. So, no, absolutely. So, no, thanks for that, Marc. That was. I'm glad you answered the question in that way. So, I've got my next little section that I always do is my fun question section. So the first thing is the raging debate I always have is you've got a portion of chips. Are you putting gravy or curry on them?
Oh, neither.
Neither. Are you a neither guy? No.
Peas, me.
Oh, you mushy peas. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm a Yorkshire man. Me, yeah, it's mushy peas all the way.
Right, mushy peas. See, for me, chips, gravy, mushy peas. Now we're talking. I do like mushy peas, though. Oh, yeah. I have to get fish and chips and mushy peas tomorrow from Bob's Fish and Chips. All the way to Dubai, let's still eat fish and chips. Okay, the next one is, and with you having children, this will be a good one. Rice Krispies or Cocoa Pops?
Oh, Cocoa Pops all day long.
You drink the milk at the end as well?
Oh, yeah. All day long. Well, we get both, but Cocoa Pops are the most popular in this house.
I like Rice Krispies as well. I don't feel as guilty having Rice Krispies, you see.
But you think they're like cleaner, as in
bit of
more healthy,
less guilty. You know, feel a bit more of an adult. You know, and then they're replaced with Alpen every so often. You know, because I like to go a bit more bourgeois. You know, see myself as a little bit posher. Some Alpen. Okay, this one could be a fun one. Most famous person in your phone book.
I've got about 15 people in my phone book, and it's either work or family.
Or your mum. Your mum could be the famous person.
Yeah. Well, probably the most. I would probably say there's a guy called Joe Lazarus. He's
that name rings a bell. Actually,
he's a great guy. He's a drummer. I met him probably 2010. Plays with a band called Voodoo Six.
Oh yes, yeah, Voodoo Six. I've heard of Voodoo Six.
So they kind of connected to Maiden in different ways. It goes way back to me and my dad knowing a couple of the Voodoo Six members like 25 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
So I have Joe's number in my phone. But he's a super nice guy, insane drummer. His single kick pedal work, like it matches Nico McBrain's work. You know, Joe's a Maiden fanatic. He could play any Maiden song and pull it off. You know what I mean? So yeah, he's probably. I probably wouldn't say famous, but in terms of musicians, I would say Joe.
That's a good one. I like that one. I like that one, Marc. And finally, the next question is: if you could play any character in a video game, who would it be?
It would probably be. I think I would probably be Vega out of Street Fighter.
Ah, Vega. I love that. Do you know I used to like Dalsim? Is it? No, is that? Oh, is that? Yeah, is that Street Fighter?
Dalsim's the stretchy arm leg guy.
And the
Fireball.
Yeah, and what's the green guy? Oh, what was his name?
Blanca.
Yeah, Blanca. I used to love that on the old Sega Mega Drive.
Oh yeah, I loved all that.
Yeah, those are good days. Road Rash.
Road Rash, yeah. Road Rash was great.
Great. Some really good games. And NHL
Yeah, NHL, me and my best mate were addicted to that. Jimmy Connor's tennis as well. Do you remember F-Zero?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, like a futuristic thing, yeah.
And when you look back,
Oh,
it
it was brilliant.
futuristic.
Streets of Rage.
Streets
Oh,
of
yeah, it was
Rage,
great.
that was the one where you couldn't move through. It was like Street Fighter where you sort of fight people, but it was no, that was great. Streets of Rage. Do you know when you see says Street Fighter, I was thinking, what's that other game? Streets of Rage. That's awesome. No, that's a good selection. That. And then the final question is, can you tell me a funny story from a gig? Anything funny that you've seen? You don't have to name the band, or you don't want to embarrass anyone, but or
Yeah, it were Dead River Kings actually. And if the lads watch it, they'll piss themselves because it was, I can't remember whether it was before or after Christmas. It was fucking cold anyway. So we've been invited to play a gig supporting a band called King Creature,
right
down in Devon, right on the coast. I forget the location now. So anyway, we sets off down. I borrowed a friend's minibus. So we're on our way. We break down. I can't remember what services it were at now. It were a fair distance we travelled. So we broke down. We got towed to. We broke down leaving the services, and we got basically got towed and taken back to the services. So then I think it was the AA that came out. They couldn't find what the issue was. Basically, the sodding wipers stopped working and it was snowing. So we couldn't like travel. So the AA come out. He couldn't figure it out. So one of the lads, Connor, is kind of a ex-mechanic. So he basically got a shovel and hooked the link off the wipers so they were like roaming free. So we took our shoelaces out,
right,
attached to each windscreen wiper through the windows. I'm the driver, and passenger Rich, he was basically having to do this to clear the windscreen while we're going like 60, 70 mile an hour down the motorway while it's like a bloody blizzard. And not only that, as we were traveling down, I can't remember how much further we got. For some reason, I put the window down, and then it wouldn't come back up. So there was like an electrical fault. So it was like snowing. It's pulling the frigging thing with the shoelaces to keep the screen clear. So we pulled over again, and Connor had to switch the electrics in the passenger door to the driver's door so I could get the sodding window back up. And then I think we arrived at the venue with about, I think it was like an hour or two. We were meant to be there like well early. Yeah. So we were like, got there after a horrendous journey, God knows how many hours. And actually, we had a great gig and it was really enjoyable overall. But yeah, that was probably the most defining memory of any gig I've ever played with any band anywhere.
So for all those budding musicians out there that are listening to it, if your van ever breaks down, shoelaces, reroute the wiring, and just get pulling. But don't roll the window down in case you can't get it back up again.
That's it. And do you know what it was? We got back to the following day when we came back. The weather was fine. It was no issue. So I took it to like a garage when I got back, and it was just like a tiny fuse that had blown.
Just the fuse.
You replaced the fuse, and it worked fine.
No way. Do you know, it's the same thing happened on my Clio years ago. This auto electrician come out. All this was looking at the car. Electrician, and then I took it to another guy, and the guy was like, "We check the fuses. Just replace the fuse." And next thing, everything well, and he just went, "It's fucking embarrassing." It's actually borderline embarrassing that an auto electrician couldn't quite get it right. You know, I suppose you always think the worst, and it's something simple. So, Marc, I'm going to wrap it up there, mate. You've been brilliant. Thanks very much. Good luck with the shows. You've got obviously another 80 odd shows this year booked up. Some really big bands. For those that weren't aware, Marc looks after the Tap and Tumbler in Nottingham, and he has, the Rock the Foundry Promotion company. So if you ever want to book any gigs, he's the man. Fill out the form, and he'll try and help you secure some gigs. Other than that, mate, thanks very much for coming on. You've been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for telling me about your vinyl collection, and good luck for the rest of the year, pal.
You too, mate. Thanks for having me.
No worries. All the best.
Cheers, mate.
Bye-bye.